My fellow old rollers, welcome to the show. One of the OGest of the OG American jiu-jitsu grapplers and wrestlers, Coach Brian Peterson, famous from his Teach Me Grappling YouTube channel, which I'm a huge fan of and have learned a lot from, and we're going to get to some of that. Brian, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me, Harrison, and I really appreciate it. So I'm happy to be here.
Dude, it's truly a thrill, and I'm not making this up when I say that stuff that you've shared from your channel I have put to use and has made me a better grappler and made me more dangerous to my partners. So my condolences to them and my thanks to you.
You're very, very welcome. I'm happy to hear that. So it's one of my goals is just to try to like help people, make people better and spread what I know. So cool.
So let's talk about how because you've been doing it for a long, long time. As my listeners will know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 5 years. You've been grappling for a really long time and also doing jiu-jitsu for a really long time. So talk about your introduction to this crazy thing that we all like to do and what you've been up to since then.
Okay. I have like probably a very different background because what we do, we call jiu-jitsu. A lot of times, my YouTube channel is called Teach Me Grappling. So I that was a specific thing. I wanted to use the word grappling because I didn't want to alienate anyone that wasn't a part of jiu-jitsu. I felt like what comes first is martial arts, and then as a subset, you really have divide, and you got striking and you got grappling, and then jiu-jitsu is one of those subsets. And although I do believe that jiu-jitsu is the strongest of all of them, I think that it was a better suited name was grappling. So anyway, what I'm getting at, I don't want to be too long-winded on it, is that first I'm a grappler first, right? And then I'm a jiu-jitsu guy second, if that makes sense. And that's a positive, not a negative. That just means I believe in encompassing everything that grappling has to offer. And furthermore, what I really should say is I believe in mixed martial arts and combining whatever works. Kind of same kind of Bruce Lee mentality of like use what works. Don't just stay in a style. Don't be stuck in a style. So although I do jiu-jitsu is probably my favorite of all the grappling arts. It's my favorite, but there's no way I cannot submit just to jiu-jitsu. You like that word, submit.
So you just gave me a really great clickbaity title for this episode. It's going to be Brian Peterson says he is the Bruce Lee of grappling.
Oh no. Hell no. Well, first, okay. Look, I don't know why I even brought up Bruce Lee, but I get this Bruce Lee argument every once in a while. I like Bruce Lee. I just ran into a guy in Home Depot. The guy was like probably 65 years old, maybe even 70. Old black dude, and he said, "You know who the greatest martial artist is of all time?" And I looked at him and I just went, "Oh, this motherfucker is gonna say Bruce Lee." And I just went, I just acted like, I'm not saying I'm like somebody, but at the same time, I can't help but think to myself, this guy doesn't even know who he's talking to. Like he's talking to somebody who actually like does martial arts for a living. You know what I mean? Like he could have been running into a guy that just likes to watch the UFC or some guy who's just a martial arts fan or maybe did martial arts for a few years. But I happen to be a guy that like spends his whole life doing it. And I'm like, oh, this guy's going to tell me who the greatest martial artist is of all time. And of course, it's Bruce Lee. And I said, yeah, he's good, man. Like, I'm not going to say nothing bad about him, but I can't help but I love to argue back when people just pound so hard. Like, do you know what he could do? He was the man. And I'm like, he was an actor, bro. I'm like, he's an actor. I'm like, I'm not trying to diss him, but come on. Don't like, look, he's great. Bruce Lee was great. He wasn't a fighter. He was great though, but he wasn't a fighter. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. All right.
All right.
So don't call me the Bruce Lee of grappling. I don't like the comparison. I'm not a Bruce Lee, and no. All right.
So I'll rearrange the title to something else clickbaity, like Brian Peterson says that he's way better than Bruce Lee, something like that.
There you go. Yeah, that'll work even better. I'll get plenty of love mail for that.
Bring on the hate. Oh man, so that was a great little segue. Probably not that informative, and if somebody was here to learn something, I probably just wasted their time by being an asshole. So I apologize to Brian and my listener for the little interlude there. But
I forgot I didn't even mention. So I'm going to give you the long story short really quick. All right, I'm a wrestler first. Started with wrestling in 1993. Got exposed to jiu-jitsu. A couple of Hickson Gracie guys, like blue belts, come into the room, choke me with my T-shirt, and I got exposed. I watched, obviously, the UFC. I was a fan from the very beginning, and then I ended up training pretty heavily in 1996 on. That's when I turned 17, 18, started training in jiu-jitsu, but we didn't call it jiu-jitsu because my instructor wasn't a jiu-jitsu guy. He learned jiu-jitsu through mostly the Machados, a lot of videotapes, going to seminars everywhere. So back then it wasn't easy to just find jiu-jitsu. Although we did have a local Hickson Gracie affiliate, we weren't exactly friends with those guys. So, long story short, we were actually like anti-jiu-jitsu. We were like the lucha libre of the Americans, and so we called ourselves submission wrestlers. And I always looked at that and I said, yeah, I'm cool with that title at the time. I definitely didn't feel like I should call myself a jiu-jitsu guy. But at the same time, most of what we were learning was from jiu-jitsu. We were learning from catch guys. We were learning from sambo videotapes. We were learning from a lot of jiu-jitsu. And really, anybody that was out there to learn from, we were grabbing information that was out there. But it definitely was primarily jiu-jitsu. So I always felt like I was still a jiu-jitsu guy. After doing it for a few years and competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments, I don't care if what you do is called taekwondo. If what you're doing is taekwondo, but you're competing in Muay Thai, after a few years, you start to go, you know what? I'm a Muay Thai guy. And they go, no, but your instructor is a taekwondo guy. And they go, yeah, but I compete with your rules and your rule set. So I definitely felt like I was a jiu-jitsu guy. But I never really totally got accepted until I started meeting other jiu-jitsu black belts and becoming friends. I started refereeing for all the West Coast tournaments. And that's when I kind of got brought into the jiu-jitsu world and basically getting ranked through jiu-jitsu at that point. So I have a different background. I didn't start out like most people. So anyway.
So like what you said there is very exciting to me because this podcast is not a jiu-jitsu podcast. My introduction to grappling was jiu-jitsu, but I also consider myself a grappler. I have a very large catch wrestling influence. I'm really lucky in that my jiu-jitsu coach is like, whatever you want to study, whatever you want to practice, do it gently so that you don't hurt anybody, and we'll check it out. Like if you're bringing a new move in, just let me approve it. Like I'm not trying to say you can or can't do something, but let's make sure you're safe,
Right.
So I can study and bring judo things and sambo things and catch wrestling things, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. My coach is like, you're fine. And so I also consider myself a grappler because there's no one, I hate to say it, but like one way of doing things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm married, so I know that my wife's way is the right way, right? But outside of that, there's a lot of different ways to skin an egg.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
So,
definitely.
So this podcast, my listeners have heard this spiel a lot, but anytime I bring a new guest on, I always try to go over it. the purpose of it is a very selfish one. It's a selfish endeavor. I started grappling at 35, so I feel pretty much behind. I didn't have the chance to wrestle before that. I kind of think I might have been interested in wrestling when I was young, but there just wasn't. We didn't have it at my high school, and I'm from Kentucky, which you've never heard of a wrestler from Kentucky because we pretty much suck at it. So it's just not a place where
got some good wrestlers.
We don't have that much of a culture because wrestling and basketball have the same season, and Kentucky's such a huge basketball state that like if you want to get a girlfriend, you got to play basketball. And I was like 5'5". I've grown to 5'8" now finally, but I wasn't going to be a good basketball player. So
we're breaking up.
Okay.
Right now I'm not hearing you, brother.
Well, I still got you loud and clear. Just hang on.
Okay, there you go. Looks like back.
Yeah, sometimes the connection will go away, but just stay with it because it'll come back in.
Okay.
But what I was saying is that I have always felt like in a way I was behind. I want to know what is my physical vessel capable of as I age, and how can I make my learning as efficient as possible, but also increase my longevity as much as possible. I would like to roll dangerously into my twilight years. And in order to do that, I think I have to seek out and learn from, people with a lot of experience and, coaches who have seen a lot of different body types. We've talked to PTs. We're looking for some nutritionists to get on. Like there's a whole lot of elements to the longevity side and the technical side. And so these interviews are an attempt to get at the essence of how to learn grappling the quickest way, and also the way that's going to be the most conducive to having a long career as a grappler. And so when I said that you have already made me better, clearly you're someone that I need to interview, because if you've already made me better, there's a good chance that, through this talk, there's going to be more opportunities for that. And then via the podcast, we can share that, because I'm not the only one out there whose goal is to roll well for a long freaking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good subject, and I think that a lot of grapplers out there have that goal in mind. Like when you were just talking right now, what went through my mind was they're really split the world in a bunch of different ways, right? We could say there's two types of people in this, and then we could like dice it up however we want. But I'm gonna say it right now. There's two types of grapplers. There's those that want to compete, and those that just want to do it for fun. They want to do it for the art. They want to do it for the training, and they are not trying to become world champions. And the moment you divide everyone into one of those categories, and if right now we're talking about non-competitor, now, yeah, sometimes that guy who like wants that longevity, he still wants to compete too, but his primary goal is just to do it into his later years. Mm-hmm. And then we have a primary goal. So like I have young guys, right? They come to me and they're like, I want to be a champion. That's totally different. And mm-hmm. So that's what entered my mind when we spoke about that. I went, you know what? It's not that I, but as you spoke, you triggered my mind, and I realized it's like re-realizing something I've already said before, and you've heard before. But there really is a big, big difference with that. There is guys that want to whoop ass and not get their ass whooped, and then you got guys that are like, I want to do that, but I gotta go to work the next day, mm-hmm. and I can't be out of work. So that's a big distinction. And I still remember when I passed across that curtain from one side to the other, and it's different. And I'll talk about it if you like me to,
Yeah. Well, to give an example, in a previous interview, we talked with Lachlan Giles, and he's obviously competed at a very high level. but he's also he's a physical therapist, and so a lot of his skill set, his academic skill set, is in human longevity. Like, how can we get the most, out of our body in terms of quality of life, as we age? It turns out that as we age, physical therapists can help us a lot. And so he talked about the same thing where the separation in those two paths, there's a chance, and a fairly good chance, if you come out and let's say you built a game that's very speed and power based, a lot of Toriando and or like tornado guard, or something that requires a lot of force production. He was saying that the likelihood of injury over time in those high speed, high power games is such that you run a risk of burning out in purple or brown, even if competing and just dominating at a world level, and then all of a sudden you have like an ACL injury that completely changes your competitive your competitive atmosphere, because it's going to be 18 months sometimes for that recovery. And then, with the rehab and stuff, you may have to completely change your game to accommodate, the what the joint will allow.
Yeah.
And so what you were saying, when, there's two different paths, one for the competitor who seeks to be world class, and one for the person who may compete and do well at it, but isn't necessarily seeking that world level. I think that is absolutely true. But I do also think that there's a sustainability requirement for someone who seeks to be at a world level, because I'm not saying no one cares if you won worlds at blue or purple. I am saying that people care a lot more if you won it at black. So you got to get there. You know what I mean? You have to be world class at the time that you become a black belt too.
Yeah, it's true. The thing is, it's when you have a person who's younger, like you said, you started at 35, that automatically puts you in the category for longevity. Like, it isn't realistic. It's not realistic that you're going to be a black belt world champion when you start at 35 and you're going to do it in the young guys category. It's not realistic, because you're not going to be a black belt most likely until you're in your early 40s at the earliest, more like mid to late 40s, and then it's just not happening. But
you're kind of breaking my heart here, Brian.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry, but it's just not happening. All right. And so when you have a young guy, I heard what you said about Lachlan, if he said that, but I don't think it's the style. I wouldn't agree with that. I like, if you guys using Toriandos and any other type of explosive techniques to grapple, if you're start at a nice age, let's just say 16, 17, 18. I mean, you could say even younger, and even if you wanted to start at 20, you're still going to reach black belt and still be in your prime. Like, you can still be 20, you can be like Lachlan, you can be, young, and just because he's gotten some injuries, I wouldn't point that towards a style. I definitely wouldn't. Like, a style of movements, explosive, that's up to the grappler. That's individual. There are grapplers that are just explosive, and some that are more. You can get hurt doing methodical moves. I don't.
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree that it's that. So I guess what I'm saying is, for the competitor, the guy who's going to compete and become a world champion, you do all those explosive moves. You should be. That's what you should do. You should be doing what you do best. And remember, there are world champions that don't do explosive moves, even young guys. It's not necessarily young, old, but what I will agree is, once you pass through that curtain from competitor to whatever we want to define that as, person who's there for longevity, yeah, I do believe that explosiveness needs to drop a little bit. But I wouldn't say that explosive movements cause injury. I know that sounds nuts to some people. I wouldn't say that because there are, if you take all the world champions that are young in their 20s, almost all of them do explosive movements. And it's a part, like take wrestling, for example. At high levels, it's very hard to not be explosive. We are attempting to be as explosive as possible. It's almost arguable that every wrestler at the highest level is explosive. Every one of them. Even the least explosive is way more explosive than any jiu-jitsu guy. I wouldn't say any jiu-jitsu, but you get what I'm saying.
No,
so I don't want to point the finger at explosive movements, but I do point the finger at explosive movements once you are past your prime. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I don't want to tell young people, hey, look, you're 21, you want to do this when you want to be a black belt world champion by the time you're 28, 29, stop doing explosive movements. I don't know if that's what you said or what Lachlan said, but I'm saying they should be doing the jiu-jitsu that is best for them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. And what he was saying is that if you have built a game entirely around that, and that's basically all that you're doing all the time, that level of explosive intensity, it would be just like weightlifting. Like if you were lifting near your max all the time, then you're running a very high risk of injury if you prolong 100%. That. Like, so what he was saying is that explosive movement, and I may have expressed this poorly, like I may have misquoted him, but basically explosive movement is a part of everyone's game. But if you make it the basis of your game, you run a much higher risk of injury over time because you're running at that red line a lot for a long time, which is risky.
Somewhat. I'll agree partly. Here's why. When we compare it to weightlifting, take an Olympic weightlifter. If we're doing the clean and jerk or the snatch, and we're operating at a max like lift, we're doing our max. I don't think you can compare that to a explosive Toreando, because an explosive Toreando is not a max lift. It's just an explosive movement. That's like saying I did a very explosive cartwheel, and therefore you can get hurt doing explosive cartwheels. Like a cartwheel's a cartwheel. It's an explosive movement, and yes, you can get hurt doing cartwheels, but it's not. You can't compare a cartwheel to a max Olympic lift. Does that make sense? Like that's not a max lift. So that's where, you can get hurt doing explosive movements, but I get hurt bending over and picking up a piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's every individual. That may be true for him, and it may be true for you. It may or may not be true for me or the next guy. And I think that some grapplers make livings off of explosive movements. And yes, I do agree. In the long run, you are pushing it 100%. But as far as what I'm saying is, if you're in your 20s, no, that's on an individual basis. So I would not say it across the board. I would say if you feel that that's, but you know what? I've worked with so many athletes. There are guys that are 29 years old and they are older than me, and I'm 40. You know what I'm saying? Like my body does explosive movements better than theirs does. And I also like, so I see that young guy who looks like he's already past his prime. And at the same time, I also have a 42-year-old in my gym. He can do backflips, and his body is like ready. He's still doing backflips. So he's
like
got
Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Look at Yoel Romero. Tell him that explosive movements are bad for you and you're going to get hurt. Dude, that guy will look at you and be like, what? Hey, watch this. Whoop, and lift your ass and make you do a backflip yourself. So that's why I don't agree, because I think that it's really dependent on the individual, if that makes sense. And I'm not telling everybody out there, hey, look, you're 40, go do some backflips. No, you're gonna get hurt. Do
So,
jujitsu and just try to do crazy shit. No, don't do that.
so I think, like that whole idea of like, just doing like spazzy jujitsu your entire time is a great. I think, you're gonna make a world champion out of that, like no question.
No, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. So,
I know.
yeah.
So what you just said there, though, that kind of is also one of the things that I wanted to get from you, because you've coached a lot of athletes. You came up as an athlete. You performed at a very, very high level, and you've coached a lot of athletes. And there have to be some things that you've picked up along the way that have influenced your ideas about how to develop skill quickly, and or how to have more longevity as an athlete. So talk about that a little bit. Like what things have you seen or experienced within your own body, or that, like the experience of your athletes that you've coached, that you've said, okay, this is an important one. I gotta hold on to this.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a lot of the first. Let me start with just run of the mill stuff that everybody says. I mean, like, when you're in the gym, you got to tap a lot. You can't like fight. You gotta fight reasonably, but at the same time, you gotta know when to know your body and know when to give up. That's different in every person's brain. I can't explain it. You got guys in the room, they just don't tap. They won't tap. And so as a coach, I'm constantly monitoring these guys and I'm like, hey, look, I'm telling you, you're getting out of the Kimura right now, but eventually this thing is going to bite. You're getting that streak, and it works right now because you're strong as hell, but your joints won't hold up forever. And I would like you to learn how to not get in the Kimura in the first place, and how to technically do it and not just explosively use strength to get out. So just an example for, so what you have to do as a coach is I'm constantly monitoring what type of grappler I'm looking at. Is he the kind of guy that knows where the dangers are, where the pinch points are, how to tap out, tap a lot? And then you got the complete opposite. I've got the guy in the room who literally just is, he commonly says this. He says, I'll say, why did you tap? Like, why did you tap to that guy? And he'll say, it was kind of tight, and I don't want to have an ego. And, I kind of, and then I've also heard him say, I kind of just wanted to, like, because he was doing something so cool, I kind of wanted to see it unfold. And I'm like, what the fuck? I go, what are you doing? You're never going to get good that way. You got to fight. You got to fight. I'm like, fight this guy. Come on, man. You're never going to learn how to get out of this stuff. There's, I might go off on a tangent. There's a video I saw a long time ago, but I've never forgotten the word he used. Dean Lister was talking about triangle defense with Keenan.
I saw that one.
He was talking about resistance. Do you remember that?
I do.
He said something about, he goes, I don't even remember what he said. I don't even remember. He talked about, like, first you have this kind of defense, you have this, and you got the early defense, you got the mid-level. He goes, and then you got resistance. And that right there was so, and I already knew that, and I actually used words like that before with my student. Maybe I didn't have it breaking down as well as he had, but you got to develop resistance. So I'm going off in a certain category right now, a little piece, but this is important. How do you ever develop resistance if you're constantly going, well, but he had me, coach, so I figured no ego, I'll just tap out because we could always start again. And I'm like, you are missing a huge part of jiu-jitsu, which is learn. Like when people go, dude, when a guy reaches a black belt, he doesn't even breathe through his neck anymore. They make these jokes, right? It's like, I can almost, it's not true, but I can almost just stick my neck out there on a white belt and just be tough. And the white belt will go, can't choke you. Well, one, his technique isn't proper. He's squeezing, and because his technique isn't right, I can just mental bullets come out, right? The black belt forces just, stop him from submitting me. And I try to tell people, I go, if you ever want to get that, whatever that is, it's not a real force, right? It's just, but there's a mental part that comes with resistance and the mind, and you're never going to get that if you just tap all the time. And what did I just say earlier? Tap a lot, guys. Don't fight and get your shoulder blown, your elbow, your knee. Just tap. But at the same time, you gotta have a good dose of like both. You gotta be able to bend and move with it. And that's not easy to teach. But I do it, and everybody does it. It's the porridge can't be too hot, it can't be too cold. It's got to be just right. So
yeah, you got to be in that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, Goldilocks
and
zone.
I like that sentiment. I probably at differing times have fallen too much on both sides of that equation. There have been different scenarios where I think I probably could have learned something if I'd stayed with that one, and other scenarios where I was like, man, I should have tapped to that.
Yeah.
So
and you gather data, you're gathering information, and then the next time you improve. Simple as that. But but at the same time, we're having this discussion, so we go, all right, who can we learn from, right? Can I learn from Lachlan? He can teach me how to do this better, so I don't want to have to do the trial and error and get my shoulder right and learn instead of going through like that. Maybe I can learn directly from the horse's mouth, and he'll teach me how to do it better. So it's hard. It's not easy, but that's what we're all doing. I'm doing it every day. So
yeah, and this art, this sport, this martial art, whatever particular language that you like to use to express what we do, is very nuanced. And I'll give you an example. We had the good fortune to interview Brian Freeman recently, and he's an adaptive athlete. He had an accident in the Navy, caused some paralysis. I think it's not complete paralysis, but like a partial paralysis below his waist. And he had to build a game based on really bad positions because, his due to some of the loss of ability in his legs, it was very difficult to have a functioning guard. And so he's just getting his guard passed, and it was happening, his language was, he was saying like people were coming to like top side control on their terms, not on mine. And so he's like, I started pulling side control in competitions and winning from there because he was stuck in that position. So he had a lot of time to figure out ways to be effective from this very difficult situation and find what his body could give him, because he was going to be there, so he might as well just see what's up, see what he can do.
Yeah, I have a student who's he's a black belt. He's not one of my black belts, but I've taught him for a long time since he was a purple belt, and his name is Kevin Weber, and he's got cerebral palsy. So he does the full use of his legs. He can almost barely walk now. He just had a surgery, so hasn't been able to train, but on his hip, because it's going to get worse the older he gets. But he's a black belt, but he can't really use his legs. He has no guard, so for the most part, but he can come up on single legs, and he can he still has some use. And in the same way as what you just discussed, he developed his way, and that's what I'm always doing when I try to help him. Is I try to put myself in his shoes. I try to not utilize my legs, so I can try to put myself in that situation and then figure out ways to develop. And so he and I I mean, him mostly, but we've come up with quite a few different, you know, movement attacks and techniques in a sense. Like, but for him, and it's that's true of almost every position. If you spend enough time in it, you can get really, really good and develop a game there. There's so much to learn. Jiu-jitsu is like crazy deep. You know, it's really, really deep, and most people never dive into those places because they already have success. You know, the majority of grapplers out there, they have a few good techniques. You know, one guy he goes, I like my guard. I'm really good at the triangle choke, and you know, I know an arm bar obviously, and then omoplata, and that's kind of my thing. Kimura is not too much. I'm not that strong. I like to use my legs. I don't really do Kimuras too much. It's like there's other guys, they base their entire game around a Kimura, and that's all they do. So it's so vast. The majority of people, they never the kind of stuff bottom side. You can do so much from bottom side control, and it's a really interesting position because bottom side control is not like any other if you think about it, because guard and mount, you know, are like the same, but when you're in someone's guard and you flip over and now you're on the bottom, you don't have guard, you're mounted. You know what I'm saying? So when you flip, you're not in the same. But when it comes to side control, it's one of the only positions. When you flip it, you go from the getting your ass kicked position to kicking someone's ass position.
Yeah.
The inferior to the dominant. And all it takes is reversing the position, inverting it. It doesn't happen. If someone's on your back and you roll over, they're still on your back. If you're in their guard mounted, you know, you're not. It doesn't change. So with that, side control is a position where, yes, it's dominant, but
it's also symmetrical.
How much does gravity change the position? And it does change it. It does change it, but not like any of the other positions. You could argue that about north-south, but I think side control has more options than north-south. So north-south bottom. North-south bottom has some moves, but bottom side control has a lot more. Anyway, that's all. I kind of went off. This is just my brain, the way I work.
No, that's awesome. That's actually something that I thought about too, because I spent a lot of time in bottom side control, and I was like, you know, this position is really symmetrical. If I could reverse this person, I'm in top side control and they're in bottom.
Yeah.
So in terms of our connection, if you we look like a shape of a T. If we flip that, we're still in the shape of a T. Like nothing really changed. It's just gravity is the only advantage here.
But the guys that were in control completely changed. And that doesn't happen with any of the other positions when you flip over.
Yeah. So. I think that's an awesome insight. And unfortunately one that I had the good fortune to come to just from being stuck in bottom side control so much. Like that's what I get to think about. Yeah. It wasn't a fun couple of years for me. I was definitely not a natural to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, it's like the majority of the people out there, it's not natural. Almost nothing in fighting combat is natural. Getting punched in the face, getting choked out, you know, getting your arm twisted, getting your leg bent. It's not natural. We're not meant to do this. There's a few people out there that we say, oh, he's natural. But, you know, that's like the old, so you have on the bell curve, you have the people that struggle a whole lot. You have all these people here in the middle that are kind of average. And then you've got, as it slopes down, you've got all these people over here. It's a very small percentage here. And then another very small percentage here that they're like, I don't get it. I just don't get any jiu-jitsu. They train for 15 years and they're still white belts. That's a few. That's very few. Most people will reach some competency. And so the majority of people are in the middle. But the funny thing is, everybody in here, this is the majority, they all say, I wasn't natural. But you know what's fun? They all say that. But if you think about it, nobody was born with a black belt. Nobody was born with it. Even these guys, they weren't born with it. So those same guys that say that, and then goes by, or 12 or 15 or however long it takes to get their black belt, man, they look back at their journey and they're like, man, see, I wasn't a natural. I had to work hard. And I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? Almost everybody has to work hard to get something great. That great things don't come easy, you know. And then you got these few people over here, these freaks of nature that seem to just come into the room and they train for 6 months and they're already tapping out purple belts. And you're like, what? You know? So anyway.
Yeah,
I
like
wouldn't,
that.
I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm in here too. So
I like that thought because what you were saying, what we do is not natural. I think that in a way, jiu-jitsu is an unnatural act. Grappling is an unnatural act because in nature, in general, if two members of the same species fight each other, the bigger, the stronger one wins. You know, the faster one wins pretty much every time. Like if two bears fight, it's going to be the big bear that's mostly going to win.
yeah.
And grappling can flip that script where once a clinch happens, once a connection happens, the more technical person wins. And so I think in terms of the laws of nature, which, you know, I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you what the laws of nature are, but observationally, I can say that most of the time, the bigger, stronger animal wins. Grappling can flip that natural script a little bit.
Right.
So
Would you, but let me ask you this. Would you say that, what does striking do?
it can do absolutely the same thing. I mean, if we look at, you know, like great striking, especially like, I mean, take a guy like Israel Adesanya or something. I mean, are you telling me that, you know, some big strong guy from the bar is going to have a prayer if he's got 100 pounds on Israel Adesanya? I mean,
Yeah,
no,
he's done. Yeah,
that's not even a question, you know?
yeah, yeah. But definitely, I will say this subject. This is a bias I think that grapplers have. We have it, and I think I know why. Um, Grappling is something that when we train it, we spar it relatively live. You know, Joe Rogan's very famous for one of his talks where he talked about that. And grappling is one of those things where we can, like, I think he used, I don't agree with the way he said it, but it was still cool. Um, he said, you can train it every day 100%. Do you know the one I'm talking about? He
I
said,
do know that.
you
I
could,
think
you,
that's the one with the music and like Sam Harris talking about how he felt like he was drowning and
yeah.
yeah.
He goes, you could train it 100% every day. You can't do that with striking. Well, first of all, that's not true. None of us train in grappling 100%. Anybody who thinks you're training grappling 100%, you haven't been in a real fight. Because grappling 100% is not what you're doing at your local jiu-jitsu school, okay? Grappling 100% is another level, okay? So, let's call it, I like to call it 85, but 85-90. You can go 85-90, not 100. If you go grappling 100, that means you're ripping shoulders out. That means kind of like the catch wrestlers when they talk about, oh, when we're doing stuff, we rip stuff. You know, like that's the idea, right? Like that's 100%. So, but anyway, getting not to get too far off point, but
No, I think
grappling,
you're right on.
yeah, grappling can be done mostly live, right? Every day, pretty much. We will get hurt from now and again, every once in a while, but we can do it a lot. We get really good at combat. The thing about strikers is if they train 4 days a week, let's just say as an average, they may only spar once a week or twice a week. Or when they spar, they're not at 85-90. They're at half speed or 60% when they spar. So they don't spar quite as much. But if you are a competitive striker and you train and spar a lot, let's talk about that young guy, in my belief, you do reach those same levels as grapplers in the sense of if you take that young guy from 20 and he trains consistently, like he's going to be a champion. So he's not just doing the bag work, he's doing the sparring too on a consistent basis. By the time he's 25, I mean, he's a killer. He's a trained. The one thing that I do like, that being a grappler myself, that I do argue for, it allows us to train more than most strikers, because most strikers don't like to get hit in the face, and they won't go to those levels. I'm saying, so I guess what I'm saying is striking could be like grappling. It's just that most human beings don't want to do it. They don't want to put in the work. And grappling's a little bit easier to put in the work because we're not getting hit in the face. So that's one advantage to grappling. And then the other advantage to grappling is the one thing about how when every fight starts standing, but that seems to favor strikers. But it's this weird dynamic that once you fall on the ground, how are you ever going to back up if you don't know, so you're kind of stuck down there. And so even though this is the grappler versus striker argument, the striker has the advantage because they get to start standing. Yeah, but the grappler has a huge advantage because once it goes to the ground, how is the striker ever going to do anything unless he knows grappling as well? Which brings us to where we are in the UFC right now, in the world of MMA, where everybody knows how to grapple, and that now it allows them to look so amazing at striking. But when you go to the amateur MMA shows, it still looks like UFC 1 at the low level. You don't, as long as you have trained grapplers go into MMA, they pretty much dominate the field at the low levels. And then once they reach higher levels, they start realizing, a wrestler goes, oh, well, I need a strike coach. I can get out there and I can't just take everybody down and finish them anymore. So I'm going off, but that's a crazy subject, and it's interesting. It's an interesting subject, and you may or may not agree. A lot of people will disagree with me, but I still think that grappling still proves dominant at the lower levels way more than striking. But striking, with the way the rules of MMA are and the rounds, striking, it has proven, and you got it's what people want to see, and Dana White's going to give you're going to have job security if you're knocking people out and all that. So, it's an interesting, it's always an interesting subject.
The crowd pleasing element is, normally we would say that the rules of the sport dictate, the way that people play the sport. There's not a rule that says you need to get knockouts, but you got a lot better chance getting paid by old Uncle Dana if you do.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily the rules, but the culture and what the people at the top want, for their the ability to sell pay-per-views. Because there's 200,000 grapplers in America, so that's not a huge market to sell PPV to, versus everybody in America that likes watching fights.
Yeah, true.
So we've talked a lot about performance. We've talked about a little bit about mixed martial arts, and maybe even you could combine that with self-defense. Let's talk a little bit about culture. You came up in wrestling, came to submission grappling, and then eventually submission grappling and jiu-jitsu. You've been exposed to a lot of different martial cultures, and now running your gym, it's your responsibility, and probably willingly so, that you're instituting a culture. What culture do you want at Petersen Grapplers, and what are the reasons behind it?
When you say culture, can you give me a little more specific, direction of where you want me to go, so I'm not too vague? I mean, I can say culture. I mean, like the culture that I try to create with my students, because we are a little bit different. I call what I do jiu-jitsu for sure, but we're different than the average jiu-jitsu school. The average, if there is an average, right? There's the majority of jiu-jitsu schools share something in common. We're no gi. I have had gi classes once a week, but that's pretty much gone. We replaced our gi class, like, I want to say before COVID, we replaced it with a competition no gi class because there just wasn't enough gi interest, and we've got a lot of jiu-jitsu schools just right here on my street. So being no gi, that alters the culture a little bit. And what I mean by that is a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, when you put on the belt and the gi, there's something that's created in the mind that creates a culture of, like, I'm just going to say it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, you don't even have to look at this as a negative. It just is what it is. People wear belts, and when they wear the belts, a purple belt feels superior to a blue belt, He just feels that way. A brown belt feels superior to a purple belt. And that superiority thing they have in their mind is a part of the culture. And I wouldn't even say it's a bad thing. That just is what it is. Well, that's a very different thing than what we have, because we're no-gi all the time. We don't have that as much, My guys have rank, but they're not wearing the rank every day because they don't wear it. I think in my eyes, it's slightly more positive. In other words, people don't, I've seen it before. I've had guys come in, they were students of mine at one point, and then they left and they went to a gi school for a year or two. And then when they came back, they I had a guy, he one time came in my school, and he was I think a purple belt at the time, and he told a white belt that was going to go with another guy. He said, "Hey bro, what belts are you?" And the guy said, "Well, I'm a white belt." And he said, "This guy's a blue belt." He goes, "I'm going to go with him." He goes, "You're a white belt?" He goes, "You go over there, go with them." And he goes, "Next round you can go with him, but like I'm a purple belt, so I get to like pull rank on you." He didn't say that exact phrase, but that's basically what he did. And he justified it with, "I'm a purple belt, you're a white belt. I'm gonna steal your partner." And that didn't set too well with our white belt.
So was that a cultural element from the other gym, or was that that dude element?
I'm not. Yeah. Now, people can like comment on this. I'm not saying that every school goes by these, but I will say it's common. There are a lot of places where a senior belt will basically say, "I outrank you. I get to tell you, you go over there." There other rules of a lot of gi schools are, white belts have to get out of the way of black belts or higher belts.
Mm-hmm.
If a brown belt is rolling with another brown belt and you're a white belt, and they start bumping into each other, I've seen it at other schools. They'll literally like slap and I don't mean slap hard, I just mean like kind
Give
of
him a tap.
They'll give them a tap, like, "Get out of the way." And in my opinion, that's not good, but it's not bad either. I mean, it's the culture you want to create, and that's culture. And so that's what came to my mind. The kind of culture I try to create. Everybody's a family. Everybody's cool with each other. At my school, we're laughing, joking. We're not that serious. There's a lot of military style culture in martial arts in general, and specifically in jiu-jitsu. You'll see some martial arts culture, I said martial arts, some military style culture, lining up, bowing, all that. And I'm not saying any of that's bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is a common thing. So I'm giving you a glimpse of what we have. We don't have that, you know.
Yeah.
I say what's up to people. People don't come up to me and say, "Oh, professor, shake your hand." Like, no, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And we shake hands or we fist bump. And it could be a bad thing. I was taught when I came up in the martial arts that you need to have every respect, and otherwise it could get out of hand. And I have personally witnessed that it can. But here's the difference. When it starts to get out of hand, I put them in check and I let them know. And I say, hey, listen, we need to have a little more respect in that. So it's all, where do you set the bar? And our school is very relaxed. We're laid back. It's all about the training, the getting better, and being a family. And obviously, I expect respect, and I give respect back. And I try to treat my white belts just like I do my senior belts. So my upper level belts. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what
Yeah.
you're looking for.
So kind of what I heard as you were describing that is that part of what you have seen, like the cultural elements of not having the kimono, is a lack of like a hierarchical structure, which reminds me of maybe a wrestling room. Because in a wrestling room, everybody's just wrestling. Like, we have our champions, we have our, like we know who's good and who's new, and
Right.
who's working. But it's not like, if the senior champion comes through, everybody has to split the room for them. That's not how things work.
Yeah. And let me say this though. It still exists. So that hierarchy still exists in a wrestling room. It just isn't as pronounced. That's all.
Oh,
So
I get that.
yeah, that's the only difference. It's just not as pronounced. Only in jiu-jitsu will you see a blue belt, like a guy who's been training 1 year and he just got his blue belt, or 6 months or whatever. Yeah, let's use 6 months because it's very common, right? Some guys will get a blue belt in 6 months at schools. Again, I don't know what the average is. It's not my average. My average is probably 2 years, which is the old school average. 2 to 3 years for a blue belt at my school average. But what I'm getting at is, you could have a 6 month blue belt and he's like, I just see it. You see a smirk on his face at a school, and he looks at the other white belts like, psh, I'm a blue belt. And the way he put it's just so funny. And when I've been training now over 26 years. So it just makes me go, bro, get over yourself. You've been in at this for a year. Like, quit acting like that. Like, but anyway. But yes, you're right. Like, I would say more like a wrestling room. It's a little bit more like a wrestling room. And I think it's more positive, but I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to hate
Oh, no.
because guess what? Those structures have their benefits. They do. And I think it gives people structure in their lives. Some people really develop and thrive with those discipline, that structured discipline, like military. They love it, and it keeps them going. I'll admit, sometimes my way isn't good for people. You have students leave because they feel like they need that structure. If I would have given them a blue belt after they trained with me for a year, they would have stayed, and they would have stayed on, keep chasing they got the carrot. And so I'll admit, sometimes that structure is really good for people, but it's got its positives and negatives, pros and
Well,
cons.
even what you're saying there is that you are enforcing the culture, that you want to have in your environment, and you're willing to lose students, and it's not a negative. It's not a knock on them to say, okay, the culture that we have here doesn't work for you. You have a right to go to the guy down the street, and we want you to thrive down there. We want you to be your best grappler, and that may not be here. It may not be there. If it's not there, go somewhere else. Find it.
Exactly.
Keep looking.
Yeah, if people don't want to be here, I don't want to keep them. And
Right.
if they want to go somewhere else, that's all good. And we don't have a lot of that, but it does happen. I had a guy do that. I had a white belt that didn't, and I'm not trying to hate on him. he didn't get promoted, I think. And I think that was the reason. And I think he misunderstood. He kind of said that I think you look at the younger guys and you care more about the younger guys. So he felt that I did. I didn't feel that. I felt like I cared about him just as much as everyone. And he's one of ours, but he was really close to us. But ultimately, it came down to that of, and when it didn't happen. But I feel like, you know, what's funny is like, since that guy, I haven't promoted anybody. It's not like I just didn't promote people because it's hard to get rank under me. You know, I don't promote very often. So my students know that. There are a lot of them, they know that. But then, so going back to culture, this is the culture I want to create. It's not about the belt. It's not about the belt. And also, you could look at it like it is about the belt. It's about the belt. That's why it's not getting promoted. You know? So like, one, don't chase the rank. Don't chase the rank.
Chase the skill.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's about the belt. You need to represent your rank, which means I will not promote you to black belt unless you are a badass. So why would you want that? You know, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to unless you're legit. That's one thing that's for sure about my school. So.
Well, so what I hear globally is we're informal, but we have standards. And, you know, we're all expected to meet them. You stepping on the mat are expected to meet your own standards too. It's not I'm holding you guys to something that I'm not being held to. And so I hear that in cultures, you know, like one of the lessons of this podcast for me has been that culture really drives outcomes. The incentive structure that cultures create make people excel within, you know, that incentive structure. So one person, if someone had in their mind that they need to get promoted, like their goal is to get promoted, then they would have a hard time excelling within the culture that you're providing, which is that it's not about the belt, it's about the skill. So if someone needed, you know, that validation or whatever, then they couldn't excel within that culture. There may be one that they could excel in. They just got to find it. And that's the case across the board. Like everyone, you know, has standards and different ways of promoting. So I think that you're enforcing those rules, but you're doing it in a way that is informal, but still, you know, set in stone. You're not going to just hand something out.
Right. Yeah. It's very old school. That's kind of how I was brought up, and you know, it's changed a lot in the martial arts, and like, or in jiu-jitsu specifically. It's changed a lot. Like it wasn't that way long. It's funny that everyone asks, because there is a standard now. People get stripes, you know, they're getting stripes on their belts, and I'm like, what is this stripes on your belts? Like, this is never a thing, you know? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, you didn't get stripes. You just got a belt, and then all of a sudden stripes. And then that was a norm. And then you got stripes. And then it was like, okay, now you got ceremonies, you know, like full on ceremonies, like it's planned, and everybody knows what they're going to get. They're going to get their rank on Friday, you know, at the party or whatever. So it's changed quite a bit. Yeah. And I'm still old school. I try to do something special for the guys. I try to surprise them. It's kind of hard because you run out of ideas to distract someone before you give them the new rank at my school. So people kind of know, because it's easy for me to disguise too, because I have the YouTube channel. So because I have the YouTube channel, I can get like a camera out and I can say, hey guys, I'm going to show this move right now. And then I can take the subject that's going to get promoted and I'll say, hey, come on over here. Show me how to do this triangle real quick. Let's show a basic triangle. You teach it. And then, you know, or whatever. I can make up something on the spot and make it special for their promotion and surprise them. That way they didn't know it was coming.
So that actually leads me to another thing that I wanted to explore with you. And um, going back to, my beginnings of becoming, familiar with you, uh, I'm not certain that I've seen every video on your channel. I am certain I've seen the overwhelming majority of them, and I've gotten a lot out of it.
Awesome.
Uh,
You got them all.
I like that you do long form videos. You don't try to, like this is, 1 minute to being a black belt. You know what I mean? Like it's you're willing to take some time to explore something, sometimes over multiple videos. That gives me time to, to digest and, kind of reflect a little bit. I'm a slow learner. Like it takes me a while. But on my side, we have, what we could call the content. Like, what am I learning? I'm getting the things that you're teaching, the things that you pass along the way, be they, the different philosophies of a position or, the hierarchy of positions in your mind, things like that. On your end, how has operating that channel affected you and your grappling and your coaching?
It's helped me a lot. Let me start by saying I originally started the channel, I think in 2011. It was like 2011 was finally the channel really in my mind was back, and that's when it was thought up. So it took me 4 years to get going. And what's funny about that is like I always like I've been coaching a long time. So what I'm saying is like I had all these things in my head, and I was like, you know what? I need to do videos. That's the first thought. And then when 2011 hit, I was like, yeah, I'll just do a YouTube channel. Before that, I did a couple like mock stuff that I might have the footage somewhere, but it's not at all. It's not at all the format of what you see today. So that was the old way. It was like camera set up, and then I'm going to show technique number one, and then I would try to do that, and then it was so fake, it like contrived, that I realized it wasn't my personality. And when Teach Me Grappling, I started teaching kind of like that. If you go back to my very first videos, I used to do narration when I first started. And I don't know if you've seen the narration videos.
I've seen a couple of them, not all of them.
All of the beginning was narration. So back in 2011, so they were all narrated. I chose that format because I felt that it was the best way to do it. I didn't like the sound. I didn't like talking to the camera, and so I dubbed it over. And what's funny is a lot of people didn't even know that it was me talking on the narration. People thought like maybe this guy's from Brazil or some shit, like maybe he doesn't even speak English, and no, like so anyway, getting to the point, I over that course of doing that, my original thoughts were I have up here on video so I don't forget it. So I started to put this stuff down on video. It was more like a diary. My YouTube channel was a diary. I knew that it had a potential because I believed in myself, but that's why I named it Teach Me Grappling. I got to come up with this name. And I don't even think today, like that's even that great of a name. But at that time, I thought it's going to be like a channel for people to like learn grappling. So it'll be Teach Me Grappling. That makes sense. That's
genius.
Genius.
That's like the underwear gnomes, like collect underwear, ... profit.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, because grappling was taken, right? So I gotta get one like Teach Me Grappling. Anyway, so I did that, and little by little, long story short, I got lost with the narrated videos. It was a lot more work. I put a lot of, and then once I started doing that, I only did about 30 videos. And over the course of several years, so I was only averaging 10 videos a year at best. And I basically fell apart. And I'll be honest, lack of motivation. I'm working, man. I'm trying to survive. And there was no money in it. And I realized YouTube money was not there because you just had to blow up if you wanted to make some money. And So I just didn't put a lot into it. I had a couple of videos go viral, like viral in a sense of our community viral, which means a couple 100,000 people watch it. Not millions, but a couple 100,000 people watch the Brata Plata video and the suplex video. And that was it. So once I did those, it wasn't long after, I think the 200% video. What's up, Johnny? So I got some guys coming in the gym right now. So anyway, yeah, I had some success with those videos, and then that kind of kickstarted the subscriber base, and it turned to about 20,000. And then I actually started playing a video game from one of my fighters, one of my MMA guys that fights in the UFC, Vince Pichel. He actually got me playing PUBG. So PUBG is like a Fortnite. Fortnite got it from PUBG. Anyway, if people aren't familiar. And that was actually the reason why I'm talking to you right now. I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't for PUBG. It's a freaking weird thing. But I started playing that video game. Is the noise level? How's the noise level? Can you hear these guys?
I can hear a little bit, but I can hear you over them.
I'm gonna tell them to quiet. Hey,
tell them to cool it.
Hey, John. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to tell you guys to calm down a little bit. If you guys want to talk, please go into the restroom in one of the stalls, stall number 3.
Tap your feet.
So anyway, yeah, I started learning this video game from a YouTuber, and then he was doing videos every day, and I went, dude, he's doing videos every day. I'm learning how to do PUBG, how to play a video game from a YouTuber, and then I realized I have a YouTube channel. Why don't I just do what he does? I'll do a video every day. And that's how Teach Me Grappling jumped. So videos almost every day.
So along with that, how has that affected you as a grappler or you as a coach, like that experience of putting out the videos every day and teaching? I'm sure you're getting feedback from it. So there's got to be a give and a take there.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I kind of got lost because
your story was awesome. But I also am curious along with that of like your channel has helped me, right? So I'm curious, what has the viewership done that's either helped or hindered you? Like how has it affected you?
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying, let me just say this. Like if you go back to old videos, you're gonna see a big change in how I taught on old videos compared to how I teach today. Now, the way I teach on today's videos is how I was past with my, but I was camera shy. In the beginning, I couldn't come out on camera and be the way I was. And then what I realized was, let me just let my personality come out on Teach Me Grappling. And so I guess what I'm saying is, so the way you see me on today's videos over the last couple of years is basically the same way I was in all of my classes for probably since the late 90s. Now, how has it changed? It's only been amplified. Like, so the personality that you see, like the channel has made me maybe more, like just more as a teacher. I try to use humor. I try to project my voice better. So Teach Me Grappling has maybe made me a better teacher because if I have to teach to a camera, people used to talk about how I was mean to Mike. Hey, get around over here. Like, come around and get this angle. But like,
my favorite is when you keep telling the same guy, like, relax.
Yeah. So exactly. So I was always that way, but it definitely has amplified me. It's like me on caffeine, on steroids. So I just do it even more. And
There's
I
our
think
clickbait title. Brian Peterson is on steroids.
I'm on steroids, bro. You can use this screenshot.
Oh man,
It doesn't look big. It doesn't
that's
look
some
big.
weak ass steroids, bro.
We gotta get a. I don't know what I'll do some push-ups.
You need a better stack or something. Because whoever sold you that, it wasn't that great.
I used to look a little bit better, but I'm starting to look like an old man now. My body is getting old, man. I was telling somebody I have a mural in the gym, and no people think that the guy that painted it added muscles. Because they don't believe they're like, that's not you. And I'm like, yeah, my body used to look a little bit better than it does now. But yeah, they see. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if you can see the.
Yeah, that's believable. That's believable.
I don't know if you not that it's that much like I'm that yoked, but when they see me now, my arms look all soft. So.
Until they're strangling.
Because I am soft now. I don't work out much anymore. I don't train hard anymore. I am put out to the pasture now. I am here to help people get better at jiu-jitsu and grappling and wrestling and mixed martial arts. I am not here to prove anything anymore. I don't give a shit. And guess what? I have all the knowledge here. So if people want to ask me questions, I have answers. And I sound arrogant sometimes, but you know what? Let's do it. We can talk technique all day long. So.
Well, that would be a great day for me. I love talking technique. I think for today, we've covered a lot of the things that I wanted to cover. Maybe not everything, but we've gone a lot of pretty deep on a couple of things, and really, I think learned a lot from you in terms of what I get from, just as your general vibe is you're serious about what you do, but you don't take yourself that seriously. And there's a cultural element that comes from that as well. Like you're saying, the work we do, it's important, but we as people, let's just have fun and do it, And that layer of formality, when it's taken off, it allows a very high learning clip in an environment because the anxiety is taken off the top. And so now the only anxiety is from within the skill that you're trying to learn. So if you're on bottom side control, there's some anxiety with that, like especially in the beginning. But you're not going to be anxious that Coach Brian is watching me and disappointed that I'm on the bottom. You're just going to be like, I'm working out of the bottom.
Yeah, I'm definitely like, there's a mixture. I'm kind of a thing guy when I'm coaching. So sometimes I get in a mood and I'll get on one of my guys and I'll be like, hey, what are you doing down there? Like, why are you allowing this? And at the same time, I morph all the time into different coaching styles. And I can be the hard coach, but at the same time, I'm also a total baby sometimes with my guys. Like I'm constantly telling them not to hurt each other, don't go hard, rather grapple safe, train safe, and
yeah.
At the same time, there's also a lot of mental teaching that I do. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of mental stuff with the guys, talking about how they need to think in these positions and the art of war and how to break their opponents mentally, because that's a huge thing that I would love to on my channel. I don't think I talk about that stuff that much, but that's huge actually. I'm going to do that.
I don't want you to do that for your channel. I want you to do that and come back and talk to us about it. So,
yeah, we could do both. We'll do both. Yeah.
I'll find another clickbaity title and we'll go viral together.
Yeah. Just say Coach Brian can show you how to beat people with your mind, with mental bullets. He can shoot mental bullets out of his eyeballs. So
I don't know if that's clickbaity enough. How
yeah,
about like Coach Brian mind fucks all jiu-jitsu players?
yeah, there you go. I suck at it. You're much better than me. Much
I'm the
better than
king
me.
of I'm the king of the clickbait. Like you have the real content. I'll just clickbait it.
I use some clickbait on my and some people get all upset. I'm always trying to balance everything. So there's plenty of videos where I'm like, use a clickbait title, and then I'll go, no, people are gonna get mad at me, so I don't do it. But like one of my videos is the Ghost is Unstoppable. They got quite a bit of views. That is like the clickbait title, like champion, video for me. The Ghost is Unstoppable.
I
They
love
go,
that.
oh man, you use that word unstoppable, and everybody's got to click on it, and then they got to click on it and they got to comment down below and say, it's not unstoppable. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It means it's good. If you didn't know what unstoppable meant, it meant it's good. That's all it means. It means it can help you become a better grappler. Knowing this, you will improve. How about that? Knowing the will help you improve. No, you won't click on that. You'll click on it's unstoppable. So that's why I use that.
Well, it worked. I clicked on it. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think this is unstoppable.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a new ghost video coming. I've been talking about this for years now. I have a new ghost video that makes it unstoppable times 2.
Doubly,
Even,
you could ghost 2 people at the same time.
dude, the ghost it is unstoppable, but to make it unstoppable, you need my next video, and I will let that video out someday in the future. Unless I die, because I haven't shot it yet.
All
So
right. Well, I look forward to it.
I've been saving it for so long. I didn't want to drop during COVID because my channel has, I don't know if you, well, at least my channel has gone down since COVID. I thought that it was going to go up, but what I didn't take into consideration is that COVID has caused a flooded market of videos on YouTube. With that flooded market, viewers have gone up, but now there's so much content, it's hard for them to find. Also, I kind of messed up and I stopped thumbnailing my channel. So because I got lazy and I quit thumbnailing, that has dropped my view count quite a bit. So therefore my views have dropped, and that's why one reason why I haven't dropped the new ghost video. I want to wait until I get a little more viewership before I drop it, because I think if I use a good clickbait title, I could get a lot of views on. So what I'm saying is my channel has definitely dropped. Subscribers have gone up, but they've gone up very, very, they're creeping now. So it is what it is. There's a lot of other good channels out there. So there's a lot of other good people to watch. So it is what it is. And I haven't worked as hard as I used to work. I'm doing so many things and it's hard, but I still want to keep myself relative. So
well, this is a very hard time just in general. So you're not the only one that's, having troubles there. So, I definitely think that you're one of the many who will pull through it and be better for it on the other side.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I believe in myself. People can call it arrogance if they want, but I have a high. This is how you become a better grappler. The one thing that I've learned that martial jiu-jitsu wrestling has taught is to believe in yourself. That's the one thing that I have learned, and you need to believe in yourself. And a lot of people go, yeah, I already know that, but they don't know how to do it yet. They know the concept, but they can't do it. If you can't believe in yourself when you're out on a mat, then what good is saying, oh yeah, believing in yourself is important. Everybody knows that, but you can't apply it. I don't know why, at what point it happened for me, but I started to believe in myself. And when I started believing in myself, everything changed. Getting good at jiu-jitsu, grappling, becoming successful with a YouTube channel, just getting stuff done, doing the dishes. You got to believe it. You got to say, you know what? Get up off your couch. If you want to get in shape, get up off your couch and get it done. And so like that's what I'm saying. So when I say this, COVID's not going to stop me. That my gym's not going anywhere. People talking about some people have lost their gyms. It's sad. It's horrible. But I'm not going to be stopped. I just started a barbecue business. I'm not going to be stopped. I make great barbecue.
There's no such thing as great barbecue in California. Come on, man.
Now you know nothing. You obviously nothing. You have not had Peterson barbecue.
You got to get an accent like mine. You want to have some good ass barbecue.
Hey, it's all in the flavor. It's all in the flavor. Once you taste it, you go, "Oh shit, am I in Cali? I don't think I'm in Cali anymore."
Oh, that's awesome.
It'll make you think you're in a different. What kind of barbecue you like most? Are you a barbecue guy? Or
I
you
am a house divided. I actually like Texas and Carolina barbecue the best, with Kansas City as an honorable mention.
Yeah. Well, I like Texas more than all of them, and I I like Texas more, but I use a little bit of Kansas City sweetness to my ribs. So there you go.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
it comes to everything else, it's more like Texas.
So I'm definitely down with that. I'm down with that Texas barbecue. I don't know if have you ever been to a place called Hard Eight in Dallas?
No, I haven't. Hey, what's up, Ben? I have not. You know what? I've only been to where I actually spent time there once, and it was a couple years ago. I think I went there for EBI for the Eddie Bravo Invitational. One of my students competed, and so I got to go to a barbecue joint there, and I don't remember the name, but it was good. It was incredible. I will say that Texas had some amazing barbecue. So
Make sure try to book yourself a seminar in
eight.
that Hard Eight. It's like an 8 ball.
Okay.
And it's right by DFW Airport. It's probably 10 minutes from the airport. But of all the restaurants that I've been, it's maybe the third best in my life,
Yeah.
and certainly the best barbecue. So that's my recommendation. If your barbecue out there in Cali is anything close to that, then you could get a hillbilly out to give it a try.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you out here someday. When you're gonna be coming out to Cali, I'm right above LA, just north, really close. So you got the Mecca. We got the Mecca of jiu-jitsu, more jiu-jitsu schools than you can ever imagine in Southern California. It's just crazy. I have people probably don't even know. Like anybody watching this, just think like this. I'm in a place where I have 10 jiu-jitsu schools in my town, which is not very big. We are small. 200,000 people. We have 10 jiu-jitsu schools. I have 5 jiu-jitsu schools on my street, all in the same, like within quarter to a half mile.
Yeah.
5 jiu-jitsu schools, street. So it's just it's amazing to have this much.
So here in Lexington, Kentucky, we have maybe 4 total schools. The city is about 300,000. So we're about the same size as your town. We think we're kind of a big city, but we obviously aren't in California terms. But we don't have that much jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different all across the US. Obviously it's changing rapidly. It's growing. But like back in the 90s, it was nowhere. You couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't
Yeah.
find jiu-jitsu. You'd find a purple belt or a blue belt somewhere. They'd be like, "Hey, there's a purple belt coming from out of state. You guys want to show up and learn from him?" It was crazy back then. I would go to these in Indiana, Colorado, St. Louis, Missouri, New Jersey. I was going to these tournaments, and there was jiu-jitsu schools that would show up, and they would drive from out of state. Everybody was from out of state, and they would show up, and the tournaments were tiny. You'd have 4, 5, 6 guys in your bracket, and that was it. And they didn't know much. So not that I knew much either, but it wasn't like today at all. So, and it's still got a lot of room to grow. Jiu-jitsu has a lot of room to grow.
Well, the proliferation not only of schools but also of information with channels like yours
Totally.
has changed the evolution rate of the art and the sport and the science of grappling. A lot of the people that we've talked to have said, that there was a debate for a while. I think Keenan said something about like a modern competitive purple belt, would have been competitive with black belts in the OG days or whatever. And I'm not trying to get into that, but everyone has said, if nothing else, the rate of learning for everyone has gone up. So if you're a purple belt, you can get better faster as a purple belt than you could have as a purple belt even 5 years ago, and especially 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I agreed for the most part with what Keenan was trying to say. It's evolution. I mean, like, I'm one of the old school guys always get butthurt. They get butthurt when you tell them that just say that today's purple belts could beat old purple belts from back then. And the thing is, it's true when it comes to a submission game. Like the purple belts of today could beat. I'm talking, and when I say that, also, I'm also saying the competitive purple belts. I'm not saying like every purple belt. Of course, if you're a purple belt of today, they love to hear that because it makes them feel good. But what's up, brother? I'm doing a little podcast thing, but I'll be with you guys in a little bit. But they love to hear it. But the argument that fights back against it is the old school guys were more ready for MMA. So because of that, I'm going to march myself over here so I can hide.
We're marching.
The guys in the old days, they were more prepared for fighting. And that I do agree with 100%. The guys that were from the old school, they may have not had the elite level of technique that we provide nowadays, but they had better than today for the most part. Is they were tough, and you could not get a belt back then unless you were tough. It was very difficult to get a belt. I don't know how that lighting. I don't want that. There we go. So that's different for sure, and that's what the old guys get mad when Keenan says that. They don't want to hear that, because there was something good about the old days, man. The blue belts were durable. I mean, I got blue belts coming into my gym from another school, and I'm like, bro, you're not even a blue belt to me. I don't tell them that, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
they
it's
really
a different
can't,
way of looking at it.
dude. They can't fight. None of those. I'm sorry, blue belts, and I'm not saying you're one of them. If you're a good blue belt, then legit good on your instructor, but there's a lot of blue belts that cannot fight at all nowadays. And the same can be said, I'm sorry, about even some black belts. There's guys, they're not durable. They're just not durable like the old days. And that is real. It's real. And the young black belts may not want to hear it, but it's very evident. But the young guys will kick those old guys' asses. If we could transport, if we had a time machine, the young guys would kick their asses in a submission game. In the game of submission, it is so high level now, they are better. They're better at the art of submission. They are not necessarily better at fighting. So I would take old school Mario Sperry in a fight over the world champion of today, the world champion black belt who wins the worlds, IBJJF. He would lose to Mario Sperry in a fight unless he goes to some MMA gym and they teach him wrestling and they teach him striking. If they don't teach him that, he'll lose to Mario Sperry, because Mario Sperry of the old days had a little bit of wrestling in his jiu-jitsu, judo. He had the striking in his jiu-jitsu training. And that's the people don't understand. Old school jiu-jitsu had that. It had some of that. I'm not saying they were great strikers, but, you know, just look at Hoist Gracie. Could barely throw a punch, but you know what? He threw punches. They didn't look amazing. He wasn't a boxer, but at least he beat on some dudes in a gym. That in itself prepared him for a real fight way more than today's grapplers. So I'm mixed on it. Today's grapplers are better at the submission game. They will win a submission match. So
I think what you're saying there makes a lot of sense. And, you know, to do an analysis of my own jiu-jitsu, I am not a fighter. I've never been in a fight except for like with my brother, and he actually kicked my ass. So, you know.
Was he bigger than you?
He was younger than me. I'm a lot older than my brother, but he could look at my face and just see a face he wanted to punch. I couldn't look at his face and see anything other than my brother. You know,
it's like demeanor, right? Like how your demeanor is. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not that kind of guy. Yeah.
I'm not a fighter. But
you got to train a PG for a little while. I'll beat that shit out of you.
Yeah. So my gym is fairly combative. That we have a lot of MMA fighters and stuff. So, you know, like I definitely see a difference in, you know, my attitude versus theirs, and my, you know, intensity level versus theirs. But if I was to do a self-analysis of like the whole, like, you know, the global idea of my jiu-jitsu, I would say that I feel competent that I could protect my skull and keep myself from getting knocked out and make my way to a clinch. And if I made my way to a clinch against someone, even if they were much more athletic than me, I don't think they'd have much of a chance. But I am not confident that I couldn't eat one that would be too good, you know, like on the way in. So I might look a little bit too much like Khabib, running out with my arms extended, you know, like against Al Iaquinta, and I could take a nap.
Just duck down, and then don't look at him. Throw an overhand. Just duck. It'll all go away. It'll all be okay. If I could just clinch. Yeah, that's common among so many. And even though I love, you know, Khabib, he still fucking does it. But he's good. He's gotten a lot better with the striking. Sure.
Yeah.
But he still does that shit.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, you know. Like Khabib hasn't been beaten, but he could be beaten, and that's like the one thing. If he runs with his, you know, arms extended, his, you know, head back like he did against Al Iaquinta, that he could find himself in a lot of danger.
Yeah, I'm picking Gaethje over him. So I don't think I did not pick Ferguson, but I will pick Gaethje over Khabib. So I don't think that fight's gonna go like the Khabib fans want. So
Yeah, I couldn't argue with you. I honestly don't know where I would put that. I think that they're dead even. Like it's really just like you said. It's going to come down to, who is better at bringing the other person to where their game is.
Very well said. Very well said. But
So
the thing about that fight, I don't, is I think everybody they just go, well, Habib is a great grappler. He takes everybody down. He takes him down. He's going to wear him out. He's going to break him like he does everybody else. But I think that Gaethje is the guy that, one, isn't going to be afraid. A lot of guys are afraid. And I think that he's going to take the center. Habib takes everybody down by pushing them up against a fence. And I don't think Gaethje will put himself there often. And when he does, he may get taken down once or twice, maybe even a few times. But I think he has the ability to get back up immediately, much like, a lot of great wrestlers can. And I think that his striking it's enough of a notch. It's enough. You can't be just a little better, but I think he has a clear advantage in the striking that I see. And I think that's going to take it all away. I think it's going to be the tipping point where you literally could see a fight. Mark my words. I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing this because I believe in it. Like you said, it could go either way, but it also could be a landslide. It could literally be an obliteration because he will make Habib's wrestling look like it's not even there on that night. It could end up like that. So
I certainly I couldn't argue with you. If Gaethje won, there would be no part of me that would be like, I can't believe that just happened. I would say that makes perfect sense. If Khabib won, I would say that makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense. Yes, exactly. And I'm with you 100% on that. I would go, I was wrong. He did it again. I did that with Ferguson. I did that with Ferguson a lot. I picked against Ferguson many, many times. I never liked the way Ferguson fought, and I felt he was too wild. This was like this last fight was finally him getting exposed.
But he always ate a lot of shots, and it was like he relied on his chin, and kind of like what Joe Rogan was saying, like we can go 100% because we're grappling. Like your chin wears out, like eventually you cash that check the last time.
Yeah,
we saw that with Chuck Liddell too. I mean, like to me, Chuck Liddell is like the most brilliant knockout artist ever. Like he just had a freaking light switch in his hand, but he also eventually like he trusted in his chin to be able to get in there and like trade shots with you and
true. Yeah.
Now that said,
it was a different time too. So there was was also.
I mean,
he was
Chuck's
at the
a different
tail
guy.
End. There was a different. He was different, but that was also a different era. He was in the era of we don't know how to strike. So right when he started to lose is when the striking came up. So the level of striking now in the UFC is so much higher than it was when Chuck Liddell was there. No offense to those guys back then, but they are not on the level of today. Like you said, like jiu-jitsu has, with the internet and YouTube and transferring information, we have made jiu-jitsu so much better. I'll tell you what, striking now for the UFC has gotten to a fairly high level. Could it go further? Of course. By definition, it cannot be the highest level. The kickboxers of the world still watch. The boxers of the world still watch MMA, and they think that we're just tough man contests from their point of view. But but they can't say that we're tough man. That's a little too much. But they could say that back then. That's how they viewed us. The boxers said, those guys are just like tough men. And now they can't say that. You can't say that Adesanya is a tough man guy. You can't say that about, a lot of these fighters. There's no way. The level of
Yeah.
striking is so much higher. So anyway, I
No,
interrupted you.
I totally agree with you. And it would be interesting to contrast in the same way that we talked about, old school jiu-jitsu versus modern jiu-jitsu, modern striking versus, the Chuck Liddell era where, he was kind of the king of that. Because I'm still a big fan of, like Dan Henderson's H-bomb. But that was a pretty, it was such a simple setup. You'd see him, he'd be grabbing his glove and pulling it tight. It's like, you know what's coming.
The duck and overhand right. Yeah. Yeah. It's still great technique, but you can't just have that. So there's so much more to the game. So
well, Brian, I think this is probably a good point to wrap it up. I'm gonna hope that we can get you back on the show because you've got a lot of great ideas and a lot of insights that have I think could be very instructive for people like myself. And so if somebody wants to learn more about you, obviously we got the Teach Me Grappling YouTube channel. What are some other places? How can they get a hold of you? How can they come train with you?
If you ever want to go to my website, it's petersengrapplers.com. That's if you're in California, just north of LA. We're in LA County, in the city of Santa Clarita or Valencia. It's technically Valencia, but the area is also called Santa Clarita. We're right by Six Flags, right down the street. If you pop outside my gym, you've got Six Flags, California, right there. It's called Magic Mountain. So we have that locally. PetersenGrapplers.com. I just started Petersen-barbecue.com. You can go online. You can order yourself some pulled pork, some brisket, some ribs. No brisket right now because brisket's a little pricey. Actually, no tri-tip. You don't even know what tri-tip is out in Kentucky?
I have a really good friend who is from San Diego that I lived with in Florida who introduced me to tri-tip. So yes, I know about tri-tip, but there's not a lot of my Kentucky folk that do.
Yeah, that's a California thing. And, so we have our own little barbecue and we're famous for. We're famous.
Yeah, I like tri-tip a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, no tri-tip right now because we're in this surplus issue with beef and the prices are outrageous right now. But anyway, Petersen-barbecue.com and PetersenGrapplers.com. Obviously I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but I'm just getting too old. I don't really operate. I'm an old person, so I only knows how to use the Facebook. Instagram is I got it. I do look at it. I don't look at it a lot, but anyway, I'd love to help you guys. Go to Teach Me Grappling on YouTube. Hit me up there. Hit up the Patreon. Help me out on Patreon, and that's where I get a little bit of support from the people that view the channel. I give away everything for free. Everybody asks me, why don't you do more like paid videos? And I never do it. I always tell people, I go, why would I do a pay video when I can give it away? I go, if you want to pay me, go online and pay me. I go, but I like to give my stuff away. I've tried to go that route instead of charging people for everything. I give everything in my videos. I don't hold anything back. I don't hide techniques so that I can get you to pay for them later. I don't know if BJJ Fanatics is ever gonna get a hold of me again. They did get a hold of me, but it hasn't happened yet. So they contacted me about a year ago, and it just never happened. So I don't know, but they've got just about everybody on there. They've got tons of great instructors on BJJ Fanatics. So a little shout out to them.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Yeah, they're doing awesome things. But if you guys want some free stuff, head over to Teach Me Grappling. You're getting the same quality I would be giving BJJ Fanatics. If they ever do want me to do anything, I'm just going to basically teach them stuff that I would put out on my channel. And I still got a lot more up here than I'm going to be putting out. So I got stuff all the time. So
yeah. So from my experience, the things that I've gotten the most out of were your Kimura counters, and I think you call it the wedding sweep.
yeah, sweep.
Yeah.
Sweep is solid.
So I use the wedding sweep whenever I have like a half guard with the underhook and somebody tries to backstep.
Yeah.
I just wedding sweep and then come to the top with like a weave pass. And that's like been a game changing move for me. Yeah. Like I've really put that one to work.
Yeah, for anyone that is really interested in finding games, you know, like you said, if they're in bottom side control and they can't use their legs a certain way or whatever, they can develop their bottom side control in the same way. I mean, I put most of it on those videos already. There are more things I could say, but not much. The wedding sweep series is a thing. It's like an Eddie Bravo thing. Like Eddie Bravo's half guard lockdown system benefits a lot of people. There's people who crap on him, you know, with the rubber guard because they're not built for rubber guard. But Eddie Bravo does that with rubber guard. He does it with the lockdown. And he also has kind of developed a lot of the twister entries and finishes among many of his students have contributed. But what I'm getting at is those are like games, right? And, you know, people want to learn the Meow's game. How do they do what they do? Keenan's game. You know, how does David Avalon do his Kimura trap game? Well, the wedding sweep is a game. It's literally, it has, some people just use it a little, but I'm just telling you, if you wanted to, you could literally make a whole game out of the wedding sweep. And I probably need to do a video in the future about how I create that game, how I create it. Like I showed you how to do it, but now I need to show how I can like literally make it happen in every moment of my jiu-jitsu grappling game. Like I could just create it at almost any moment. And what position, it doesn't matter. You know, the second I'm on bottom guard, I create it. I'm on bottom side control, I create it. Bottom knee on belly, I create it. I'm in top trying to pass the guard, I create it. I'm mounted, I create it. And so there's so many ways to make that move work. I'm just going off on a tangent, but the wedding sweep is the shit.
Well, like I said, that's been it's specific to that one position. A lot of times, you know, leg lockers will think, okay, you know, I'm in top half. I'm going to backstep. I'm going to get to that saddle position. I'm going to, you know, take this motherfucker's foot off. And I'm not baiting that, but I play, you know, half guard a lot with that underhook. And if I sense the backstep coming, I'm already looking, and a lot of times I'm already in position with my bottom arm for that wedding sweep to be just waiting for him. Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. Just keep going. It literally could go on for a long time. You could do that thing for years and still find little nuances in the position. It's like a whole position. It's a position itself. Really is.
I can definitely agree with that.
You can literally, like, the wedding sweep could be a guard. You can almost categorize it as a guard itself. It's a guard where you don't even use your legs, or you use them minimally, you know. And you know, I know that the point system of jiu-jitsu wouldn't see it that way, but it is. It's like I said, one of my student with a cerebral palsy issue where he can't use his legs, all he does is wedding sweep when he's on the bottom a lot. Not all he does, but a big part of it is the wedding sweep. So
that's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time and your insight and your advice. I'm going to leave this conversation better than I entered it. So I personally am thankful, but I also think that, you know, my fellow old rollers, you know, had a good chance to get a lot of really good information from somebody who got years and years and years of experience at a very high level. And So that's been, just a really awesome thing. And I can't thank you enough for coming to join us.
All right. I really appreciate you. And thanks to everybody watching me and supporting me. And if you don't support me, I still love you.
Hit up that barbecue, even if it's California.
Yep. just order it and I'll eat it for you on camera. Just order it and then I'll take a bite for you and you can watch me eat it.
There's definitely.
I could try to FedEx it, but I don't know if that's legal.
Yeah, I'm not sure it is either. But when it comes to eating on camera, I'm sure that there's some fetish site that you can make some money from.
That's true. That's true. That's coming up next. Petersen-barbecue.com/fetish.
Oh, that's the best. All right. We're gonna stop the recording here. Yeah.